absolute favorite gardening YouTube channels do garden tours throughout the gardening season, and I think it's so helpful and so informative. It's just really cool to see the things that other people are growing. I love to learn from so many different types of people, and it's cool to see what people in my zone are growing and even what other people are doing in their own zones. So I just kind of wanted to take you through my two garden spaces and just kind of show you. I have a chicken poking at me. Kind of show you what we have going on. So we had a kind of a crazy morning. So it's been raining off and on for like a week and a half. I think we have more rain scheduled to come. And so I needed to get out here while I could and film this for you. I think it's so fun. I asked on my Instagram if anybody would enjoy seeing a garden tour. I had quite a few people said they did, and I just love to hear from you as far as what you want to see, what interests you. I currently have our chicken nuggets, call them our chicken nuggets. They are our meat chickens that will be butchered in just a few weeks. They're getting pretty big, but I let them out of the tractor. So we have what is called a chicken tractor. It has a tarp over part of it just because we've had so much rain. I wanted to give them a little bit more space that was dry. I move this twice a day. They're typically always in this, and so when I move it twice a day, they're safe from predators. That way with the chicken tractor, I'm able to move them and they're on fresh grass, you know, a couple times a day. And so they are technically pasture raised chickens. And so the chicken tractor just keeps them safe and keeps them contained and keeps them from getting lost while also, you know, growing in a healthy way. This is my garden space right here. It's about 10 by 20 space right here. And this was my very first successful garden. Now I've tried to garden before and it didn't really turn out well. It's important to note why it didn't turn out well. It didn't turn out well because I didn't take the time to educate myself. I didn't take the time to really learn about what vegetable plants needed, what brassicas needed, what lettuces needed, what herbs needed. And I thought you could just go throw some seeds out there and it'd be fine, but I didn't take any time to learn anything about soil or anything about the no-till method, anything like that. So I could have sworn I had a black thumb. I thought there's no way I'm ever gonna have a successful garden. But then I moved. I moved to a climate that has a lot more rain, a lot more humidity in the summer. And I found that it was a lot easier. Now you can grow in drier climates, so it just takes more effort and it takes more learning about your zone and what it takes to garden in your zone. So I'm just gonna go through and just kind of show you everything that's popping up. Again, some of this stuff it's really different. The season is crazy. This season has been so different from even last year. It's a lot cooler. In May, we haven't had any 90-degree temperatures yet, which is nuts for the end of May in central Oklahoma. It's so wet, like unseasonably wet. So my garden has stayed completely wet for a couple of weeks actually. And some of the heat-loving, summer-loving things just haven't really loved it, and some things are just growing like crazy. So I'm gonna show you everything that's popping up and growing in my garden. Okay, so now we have a neighbor who planted bamboo around a pond that she created. And I don't know if you knew this, but bamboo is basically a weed. When you plant it won't go away, and you have to, like, it's all over her land. And so she said, please come get as much as you want. I mean, she has stalks that are, this is probably a 7-foot tall stalk that is huge around and really strong. So as you know, bamboo is really awesome for tons of different things. But I am going to be taking off quite a bit and cleaning it up. I'm gonna go get some more because I'm gonna make some trellising options. So these Kajari melons are down here, and then I'm going to make kind of like a grid style trellis to go up so I can have all my watermelons growing up. If there's anything that you can grow to save space, it's going to be things that will climb. And noodle beans, pole beans, cucumbers, your watermelon, all of your melons, different things like that climb. Definitely allow them to climb and get them going up. That's going to save so much more space if you use, your vertical space in your garden. I think this is either a squash or a zucchini right here. It's coming up. I direct seeded that. I'm not quite sure. This is a beet. I'm not sure why I planted beets. I don't particularly like beets. I know they're so good for you, so I think I had planted some in hopes that I would juice them. And none of them really turned out well, except this one. This one's finally growing. I don't know if I planted anything here. I may have to go back and check. And then I have some peppers. I did plant tons of bell peppers, red and yellow and orange peppers. And then I have a purple beauty pepper coming up right here already. So a couple of these bloomed pretty quick and pretty early. As you can see, I don't know if you know this, if you are familiar with peppers at all. Now this one's a little different. This one just came out a little too early, but this one's green right here. So I think this is my red bell pepper plant. I don't know if you knew this, but green bell peppers, all they are green bell peppers that are taken off before they turn red, yellow, or orange. So anytime you want green bell peppers, just plant. This may seem super simple and you may think, why is she telling me that? I know that already. But to be honest, I did not know that. I did not know that when I started growing them. So green is just kind of an unripe bell pepper, basically. I was wrong. I did have some banana peppers here. So these are all, I guess, my sweet peppers. I did plant a couple of bell peppers. I do have a couple of tomatoes. Again, I'll have to go back to my notes. I can't quite remember. I did just kind of randomly tie these up to some bamboo just because they were falling over from the weight of the rain. To be honest, it's kind of gotten away from me. Kind of see some tomatoes there already. I couldn't tell you at all off the top of my head what kind these are. I want to say this one's a Thornburns terracotta. I haven't put this one up yet. It did have some fruit on it that was getting eaten. If I could show you my caterpillars already. I'm just gonna have to sacrifice that one. Cucumbers, I'm gonna try to get them to kind of go up here. I do have a couple different types. Again, I just threw some seeds out there. I wasn't exactly sure. I'll have to go back to my notes to see what kind. I think those are just like a large slicing cucumber. So do have a couple of tomatoes. I'm gonna have to think of some way to permanently trellis them. I don't know if I'll do the tie up method or what, maybe with some bamboo up and then tying them across, or do the Florida weave where you're weaving twine in between, say like the fence or another pole, and tying them up that way to support them. But I do know that these are full-size tomatoes, so I will have to support them more than just a stake. Okay, so this is something that we put here for cucumbers. This is only a couple of feet off the ground. It's just, fencing panel. I do have some peas growing up the side of it right now, sugar snap peas. This is kind of crazy. This is very, very unusual to be having peas still blooming in May, and that just goes to show you how different this season is, because usually by now peas are gone. Peas are dead. Peas are a cold loving crop. And as you can see, I kind of have a couple that are about ready to be pulled. Now kind of under here, I did have some lettuces that were already pulled. We used this for cucumbers last year, and that's what I intend to do. I have some kale that I'm still harvesting off of. I do have a couple cabbages planted here underneath that I will probably snag pretty quick. They're just getting eaten really, really good. Again, this is just a different type of lettuce, amaranth spinach. Everything's just kind of getting eaten really well. I did go ahead and plant underneath here because by the time these are going to die out, it'll be time for cucumbers to grow. So I did go ahead and throw some cucumber seeds underneath here. So pretty soon, cabbages will be gone, lettuces will be gone, peas will be gone, and then I'll have cucumbers covering this whole entire thing. This wasn't the smartest idea, to be honest. If you're gonna do something like this, it was a little hard to get under there to get some of the cucumbers, but again, I have kids who, the cucumbers kind of grow in between and all around the ground, and they just kind of go everywhere. Now continuing this row, I did plant some green beans and some black beans to store. So I have some right here. I did a couple right here. These are all popping up really good. Gorgeous. I love green bean plants. They're so green and so pretty. Now this is where I have my hot peppers. I did some pruning earlier and trashing it. So I have, again, I can't remember which is which, but I do have just a regular green jalapeno. I have a pepper called Sugar Rush Peach. I do believe that's what, maybe what this is popping up. Oh, there's some sun. So Sugar Rush Peach are from Baker Creek from rareseeds.com. They do have an kind of a really peachy, orangey color to them. And they are a hot pepper with a tad bit of sweetness. And then I also got a pumpkin jalapeno, which I can't exactly remember. I think it's these two. Pumpkin jalapeno, which is a jalapeno that turns orange. And it's described as being slightly sweet, hot, but slightly sweet with a tropical flavor to it. So that'll be super interesting. I have a little bit of a dead space. I'm gonna try to figure out what to put here. I do have either squash or zucchini here, kind of in between some radishes that'll be done soon. I do have a couple radishes here. And here, some more radishes. Now this is right next to, this is my gate. So when you come into my garden, I built this herb spiral this spring just because I needed to utilize more vertical space. And I think herb spirals are really great because you can really use any type of materials. This is completely free, mostly. I just needed a little bit of compost. So I had these bricks, previous owners had left them in various places on the land. He's trying to get something. I did plant some sweet alyssum just for some like pollinator type flowers around. I usually throw out some wildflowers. I have a large cosmos growing from the side. This is probably a volunteer cucumber I'm probably gonna have to take out. Now this is lemon thyme. I don't know if you've ever smelled lemon thyme. It has the most amazing fragrance to it, amazing fragrance. And this little corner I'd kind of built up, and this will be rosemary that will stay here. I will definitely, it's such a small space and rosemary gets huge. I will definitely have to trim that down and prune it down enough to where it doesn't overrun everything else. So lemon thyme, I have regular thyme. I think possibly this is a weed that I might need to pull. And then that is pineapple sage. That is doing lovely. Kind of come around the back side of this. So it's pineapple sage, smells so good. And here we have some Thai basil. And then I think these are just more cosmos, some seeds I threw out. This is my dill that got really, really big and is trying to bolt on me already, even though it hasn't been that hot. And I have some cinnamon basil. This has the coolest fragrance. It's basil with, you know, a hint of cinnamon. Cilantro, again, cilantro that's bolting. I don't know why, because it hasn't been that hot. And then I have a small regular basil that has really struggled. And then some good old parsley. So that is my herb spiral. The sun is shining for the first time, I think in days. And it is humid out here, friends. It is humid. So there's, ooh, I found a ladybug. It's always so good to see ladybugs. Ladybugs are so good for your garden. They will eat aphids and other pests in your garden. So they're the best to combat aphids. This herb spiral cost me almost nothing. So like I said, I had these bricks on my land. I built it up. And what you can do to save money as far as filling up any type of container that you're gonna plant in, whether you have actual raised garden beds, or you have grow bags, or you have just any type of container, you can actually fill it halfway up. It's kind of called like a hugelculture method. You can fill it up with leaves, sticks, logs. I actually put logs at the bottom of this higher part. I put logs and sticks, and slowly that's going to compost down and add nutrients back to the soil. So I filled it more than halfway up with logs, sticks, and then leaves. And then I topped it off with compost, and that's actually what I planted in. And so over time, so for probably the fall or even going into next spring, as it composts down, I will top it off and amend the soil with more compost before I plant in it again. I don't know if you knew this, but I have some mint growing in this pot, and I'm pretty sure it's probably going to try to take over the world in this spot of my garden, because that's what mint does. Mint needs to be contained or it will literally spread like a weed and it will be all over your garden. So some kale, I have some more beans right here. You can never have enough beans. Red Russian kale, again, more amaranth, spinach. I'm not sure I loved, this is the first time growing it, I'm not sure I really loved growing it just because it didn't give me as much as I thought it would. I don't know if it's something I did wrong, probably. Like it got really leggy and then just hasn't given me just a whole lot of leaves. There's another spinach. I was taking it off as it was smaller, but it has since produced some actually really good heads that I need to harvest. More beans, and this is where my tomatoes start. My tomatoes, let's have a talk about this. Okay, my tomatoes have gotten completely out of hand. Completely out of hand. Okay, we are going to have a chat about these out of hand tomatoes. I'm gonna try to move you to where you can actually see me. All right, so these are some cherry tomatoes that I planted right here. I still don't have anything supporting them just yet. It's about that time. I have pruned them quite a bit from the bottom. You really want to prune your tomatoes so they don't get too bushy and too overrun, especially if you live in a humid climate. You really need to prune your tomatoes in a way that still allows some airflow so you have less chance of diseases and things affecting your tomato plants. Now, what would be really smart on my end is to prune them properly and in time to where you have just a 1 liter. I don't know if you can see this. So this is getting a little out of hand. I may prune this bottom part off. Actually, it just kind of broke a little bit. So I guess that's what we're going with. So basically, these little guys right here in between these armpits of tomatoes, these are called suckers. You want to pull those off or they will turn into huge arms, another arm of the plant. And then you're just going to have two giant pieces or multiple giant pieces, and your plant's going to get really heavy. It's going to get really hard to support it, especially if it's close and you want to plant some of your tomatoes a little bit closer together. Now, you can actually take these suckers, put them in water, and I'm going to show you in just a little bit, but you can put them in water and you can root. These will root. I've done it. I have some in there right now. I'll show you. You can root these and they will continue to grow into new tomatoes. Now, I already have a ton of tomatoes. I don't really have a spot for more, but what I can do is when these start to die out in the summer, and say in my zone, I have a long growing zone, I can plant more tomatoes. If some of these plants start to die out and stop producing as much, I can plant another one. So I can go ahead and start more tomato plants out of these and get a longer season of tomatoes if I want to. Now I pruned this one properly. This one has 1 liter. That's really kind of, okay, I guess we're pruning this off. This has 1 liter as of right now, 1 main stem going up. Now this may turn into another stem. More than likely that is going to turn into another one. So if you want to prune them, do it in a way to where you have 1 liter going up, and it might be a little bit easier. Now, do as I say, not as I do, because I went out of town and didn't prune these quite as early as I should have. And now my tomatoes over here, these are large heirloom tomatoes, have gotten so out of hand that it's just kind of, I'm just gonna have to let them go, I think. This is crazy. I definitely had to go back in because of all this wetness. I had to get some citronella essential oil.
It's hot out here.
The mosquitoes are super intense, so I had to take a break. Before we're gonna continue talking about tomatoes, I had to go get some citronella to douse my skin in. You know, a lot of people ask what I use naturally, because I'm really big into not using chemicals on my skin. Get him out of there. I really don't want to use chemicals on my skin, and that includes fur bugs, ticks, things like that. I have had zero problem with using essential oils. They work really, really, really well for bug and pest control for us. We do have a lot of ticks around here. I'm definitely not going to fear the ticks. I am just going to accept the fact that we live in an area, there's tons of them. We do tick checks every single night. Yeah, it's just a part of life here. This is what I'm talking about when you have multiple leaders. When you do not prune your tomatoes and you have let them go, this is what happens. They get big, they get heavy. Again, some of these are heirloom tomato varieties. I have some Berkeley tie-dye pink, all from Baker Creek seeds. I have, oh goodness, purple, there's a purple something. I can't exactly remember. I'll have to go back and look, but, so this is what I'm talking about when it's like a multiple leader. So out of this one plant, this huge stalk is getting really, really big. And then this is what should be the main stalk. And then it's spreading out from there. Yes, you're going to get tomatoes on every single one of those. These tomatoes will get really large, and I'm going to have to do a whole lot of tying these up, because they are going to get heavy and start to fall. So like this one, another reason why you kind of would like to see, like it split right here, and then I have these huge leaders that are splitting, and then I have this giant one that's kind of hanging. I do need to tie this up in some form or fashion. Look at all of these blossoms. I'm already getting so many blossoms out of this one. I'm gonna have to go back and remember what they were. I have to go back and look. See, like this is what I'm talking about. This is a sucker. So when you kind of have an armpit in between some of your main stems, you just want to pull those off. Because really, see again, this is another sucker right here. So instead of this plant putting its effort into the blossoms and producing fruit, it's going to say, oh, I can make this whole other arm and produce even more. So in the beginning, you really want to pull these off, and kind of in the middle too. That way the plant is focusing on producing fruit and blossoms rather than producing more of these suckers and growing more. I'm just gonna, I shouldn't be tearing these off. I should be cutting them, but you know, that's what's happening. That is what is happening. So again, tons of tomatoes. We have some sunrise bumblebee cherry tomatoes that will be kind of orange and yellow, kind of tie-dye look. Blueberry cherry tomatoes. Again, I have this black, kind of this purple colored tomato. These I believe are the Berkeley tie-dyes. These are getting out of hand, like for sure. I need to do some major pruning on these, because this is just hanging. But it is insane how much these have grown just in the few weeks that they were planted. I was out here planting. I planted these at like 9 o'clock at night. Just because I couldn't find the time. Now, I do believe this is a volunteer tomato from last year. So that would be a cherry tomato, because it's all I had growing here. Gonna have some more pole beans. Some pole beans growing. I think this is just a black turtle bean. Pole beans that are already kind of climbing this little wooden stake. Have some random flowers kind of growing in here. But so this is my main garden space. This is what was established last year, and that is all I have in here so far. I really would like some more pots, maybe a few more pots. I have to plant another mint. But yeah, this is my new herb spiral. Kind of the new space for this year. Can't wait to see how it grows in and how it progresses. So this is coming out of my garage. So the back of that garden space is right here. And if you come around through here, we have a plum tree right here. We just planted another plum tree and an apricot tree. Kind of back behind here, we actually have a blackberry bush behind this mess. So this is kind of our front drive here. We have this whole big space, planted another oak tree. So this is the new garden space in the garden bed that Ellie has. We moved, that garden bed was over here. The goats figured out how to jump into that garden bed and over the fence, and she actually ate multiple heads of my kale. So this is the other garden space. So this was put up very, very quickly. We want to probably expand this area in the fall or next spring. We will take this out and expand it even further, maybe even back more. And that's why we built the fence on this, the gate on this corner. That way we can expand it out. We probably won't ever come forward, but we definitely expand it out and back. I didn't realize that this is in full sun. I wasn't quite aware that this area got so much sun. So I'm gonna go in here. Again, this is brand new garden area. I did this, you can still see the cardboard on the edges. Kind of looks rough in certain parts, but this was laid. I have a video showing how I did this, but I laid cardboard on this entire area over the grass and then just topped that with topsoil and compost, and then I planted it inside the compost. And then I did mulch it with straw, which yes, it does. If you mulch things with straw, it will pop up little grass seeds, which is fine. They're really, really easy to pull up, but because of how much rain we've had recently, it's pretty overrun. The sun is out and it is stifling hot out here, guys. Just saying. So I have a couple cabbages in this grow bag. I don't know if this will do much, but these are definitely getting eaten pretty good. We have earwigs everywhere. We have an earwig problem out here. Okay, so these are my potatoes that are actually making it. Y'all remember that crazy storm? You know, we talked about it before, but that crazy storm that had all the crazy low temperatures, it killed all of my potato greens, but the potatoes actually set up new shoots, which is pretty cool. They're pretty resilient, but it is surprising. These potatoes by this time last year were probably 3-4 times the size. Well, the greens at least. Some of them did not come back, but plenty of them did. So I think we'll still get some good potatoes out of here. So this is 3 rows of potatoes. You can definitely dig to see we have a bunch of grass popping up, which is fine. I just need to spend a little bit of time. Look at these gorgeous potato blooms, little purple flowers. I planted Adirondack blue, some Yukon golds, and some red potatoes. But when that blooms in a week or two, I could go back and get some basically new potatoes, some smaller ones, or I can leave them for a few weeks. And these plants will actually die back, and then that's when you know your potatoes are ready. I'm really interested to see if any would be down here. I don't know if I should dig. I think I kind of want to dig. Let's do this. I don't know if I should do this, but I really want to. Okay, I'm just gonna dig a little. Just a little to see if I have any potatoes at all. I see roots. Ooh, I do see a few little bitty potatoes. I don't want to harvest them at all right now. I was just super curious. It is so wet. So wet. Okay, I do see a few little bitty ones. Definitely not ready, but I'll show you. Peep a little bitty potato. So I'm just gonna cover this back up and let them do their things. Just a few more weeks. And I should be able to harvest some potatoes at this point. So much grass in this area. Okay, so back here, see, our Adirondack blue. You can kind of see the blue tint. These potatoes do look different. The blue tint to their leaves. It's really interesting. There's a bunch of weeds under there, but this is Ellison's little bed. She wanted to plant strawberries, but as of right now, it's strawberries and celery. So celery's in the middle, and then strawberries on the outer edge. I think y'all saw us planting these if you watched one of my previous videos. And then these are the Amish paste tomatoes that I got and started from seed. I have been tying them up and kind of using a little bit of a Florida weave method. Although what I have is not quite tight enough. I just have, this is very, very temporary. I tied up some twine just going across the whole thing just to kind of hold them up until I can figure out really how I want to permanently stake these. It definitely needs to happen. I just haven't decided yet. I did have not super great success with carrots in here, so you still see some carrot tops, but mostly I just went through and planted some beans. Here's some that's popping up. Kind of planted some beans throughout here. It is getting bright out here, guys. Bright, bright, bright. So I'm gonna go under here. And then this is a few different types of cabbage. I definitely see some bugs up in there, so, oh joy. Gorgeous. I do have some onions. I wanted to plant some watermelon, so I kind of just threw out some random watermelon seeds. I do have one right here that I'm gonna hopefully train it to go to kind of climb this fence a little bit, or just kind of be in this area. These are very random with as far as white onions, purple onions. I do have a few that have gotten pretty big. I've harvested just a few really small. You can kind of see they're a pretty good sized onion right there. Kind of exciting. I have some random watermelon seeds I threw out here again. I'm gonna try to get it to grow up this fence right here. So yeah, this is the new garden space out here. Though I'm pretty proud of this whole area. Definitely have some big plans for this area. I think I want to expand here maybe next year and do like pumpkin melon patch maybe. I don't know, there's just so many possibilities. All right guys, it is getting hot. It is humid. It is like high afternoon time. I'm sweating. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me in my garden tour. I hope you got something out of it. I hope something I said inspired you, or you learned something about growing something different. Who knows? Really, really excited to be able to show you the garden as it progresses and as it goes on. And I'm just really grateful to be able to take a few of you along with me on this journey of learning how to garden, learning how to grow my own food, maybe raise a few meat chickens, whatever it is. But thank you so much for joining me. I'll talk to you again soon.